again, the important thing to remember here is Donald Trump has the document. Donald Trump has the warrant. As Hugh Hewitt said in his Washington Post column yesterday, Donald Trump should release the warrant, all of it, so we can see what the search was about. What do you think?
You know, I'm having flashbacks to when Bill Barr framed the Mueller report. Remember, he came out and he had his own summary of it, but he did not release the whole report. And I think one of the things that Donald Trump has realized is that there's a certain asymmetry here. He knows that the Department of Justice generally will not comment, so he's going to come out and he's going to frame the issue the way that he wants. He saw that Bill Barr did it with the Mueller report, it's so far it is working for me. Part of this is this asymmetry between a Department of Justice, which has a long-standing tradition of not commenting on these investigations. But you're absolutely right. Look, Donald Trump is holding that warrant. He has the return sheet. He could release that if he has nothing to hide. He could put that out. And so, in terms of the pressure of transparency, that's the easy one. Asking Trump, okay, why don't you show us what you have, rather than the Department of Justice, which at this point, look, is probably engaged in a grand jury investigation. And there are very strict rules about what you can reveal and what you can't reveal from a grand jury investigation.
So, Charlie, in your new piece for The Bulwark, you focus on the FBI search, writing in part this: the FBI, also must have known that by raiding Trump's home, the DOJ would be crossing the Rubicon. There's no going back now. If anything, I think I understated the case, because it is about to get very ugly. Elected Republicans, who frequently remind us that they are the party of law and order, could have, 1, adopted a posture of strategic silence, or 2, given the FBI the benefit of the doubt while they conducted a court-sanctioned investigation. Instead, they gave us this sort of thing. End quote. Take a look. Threats to defund the FBI, threats to the Attorney General himself, claims designed to chip away at trust in our institution. It goes on, claiming a legal FBI search is the weaponization of government, Paul Gosar saying we must destroy the FBI. I mean, these guys, Joe, are a joke.
Well,
they're a joke.
They are, but Charlie, they're a joke. They are a dangerous joke. At that, I'll be the first to admit, because I guess at times I'm a bit too optimistic. Before January the 6th, I was concerned, but I didn't think that what happened on January 6th would ever happen, that people who claim to love America would ever brutalize police officers and beat them up with American flags. I never thought that they would go in and jam police officers' heads in doors and wipe excrement all over the Capitol and try to hang the Vice President of the United States. So, yes, from a distance, they look like jokes. Up close, very dangerous. And the fact that members of Congress are saying what they are saying shows that absolutely nothing was learned by the insurrection of January the 6th.
No, you're right. I mean, this is what is so dangerous about this rhetoric. I mean, we are seeing this massive uptick in violent rhetoric on the on sites that had been used to foment the January 6th insurrection. Look, we are in a very dangerous situation. This is a very, very dangerous moment. And this would be a moment where the grown-ups would exercise a little bit of restraint, would dial down the rhetoric. Instead, from Kevin McCarthy on down, they are joining in this, delegitimizing the investigation, attacking law enforcement, by the way, awfully ironic from the party that made a big issue of defunding the police, now embracing defunding the FBI. And this politics of paranoia has so deeply infected the Republican Party that you are seeing leading Republicans who are willing to engage in what really amounts to a cover-up, willing to go along with the obstruction of justice in Kevin McCarthy's case, threatening the Department of Justice, and buying into the idea that if the Department of Justice enforces the rule of law, they will retaliate against them. So we are in a dangerous, dangerous moment here. And for people who think, well, you are exaggerating the danger of political violence, we have already seen the political violence. You have to be in serious denial not to see the kind of rhetoric that's going out there, and the kind of rhetoric that is being, I'm sorry, encouraged by elected Republicans who ought to know better, who are creating a permission structure to go along with this bizarre conflation of a court-sanctioned investigation with the Stasi and the Gestapo and communist, and communist regimes. I mean, this is the kind of rhetoric that if you saw it coming from progressives, Republicans would lose their minds. Their hair would be on fire. And yet now you look at the Twitter feed of Republican United States senators, and it's almost indistinguishable.
So, Reverend Al, I'm curious your thoughts about what's going on today in New York City. President Trump himself will be taking part in this investigation, the New York Attorney General's office, into Trump's personal situation, real estate holdings. You know, there's been talk in New York for